Paul Smith is an icon in men's fashion, in design, and also a little bit in automotive design as well with his classic Mini special edition he did several decades ago. He's also an incredible human being, as I found out in my brief time with him at the Goodwood Revival. Paul was nice enough to walk myself and a few other assembled journalists through the mini strip. And the mini strip is a concept that was introduced earlier this year, which takes a radical approach to sustainability and how to interweave that concept into design. We hear about sustainability all the time, and I think a lot of us look at that and think, okay, electric car, sure, the plastic is from like water bottles and the seats don't have leather. But what Paul Smith has done with Mini Strip is really thought about the sustainability of the product in owner's hands. So, for instance, the slats on the wheel arches are easily replaced, for instance, and recyclable. Those little things that, for instance, the dashboard, which is cork and had glue in it, it just sits on top of the dash and sort of melds into it without any extra glue needed. These little details that they've thought of are really ingenious, and I'll be honest with you, in person and hands-on, extremely convincing. The roof itself being this sort of clear plastic, material, which really exposed all the inner workings, and the chassis itself was amazing to see. Again, when I think about this in person, it is really, really interesting. Now, in photos previous to this, I got where it was going, but wow, what I saw in person was really, really interesting. And I think it points to what Mini is going to be trying to do in the years ahead. So this is an off-the-cuff recording with Paul Smith. Again, this is at the Goodwood Revival, so audio quality isn't ideal. And of course, it's a one-take video. So apologies for the lack of editing, etc. But I think this is exactly how Paul would want you to experience the car. In fact, he told me that afterwards. He told me to publish this video. He's like, this is how I want people to understand what I've done with this car. So we are honoring that request, and we are going to give it to you in sort of an unedited form. So without any further delay, here is Paul Smith walking us through the Mini Strip.
Obviously, in 1998, I'd done something in the past. The phone call didn't go that well to start with, because he was on the phone call, Bernd was on the phone call, because the initial phone call wasn't very clear about whether it was just a decorative thing they wanted me to do, or really get into the guts of doing something. And then I got the green light to have carte blanche to do whatever I wanted. So that was an absolute privilege. All along we knew it was going to be just a concept car, so it was not something that would go into production, but something that would maybe give ideas to the production team that maybe could be something in the future that could be added to a car in the future. Wear them, or a lovely suede jacket that gets worn on the edges. So the idea was to use the body straight from the body from where it gets pressed. So you'll see these little imperfections in it, which I personally like very much. I think we have to remember right from the beginning that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it depends on how you define beauty. Mm-hmm. For me, this is still beautiful, even though it hasn't got a perfect finish. It has one thin lacquer on the top for the weather, but apart from that, it's raw. The spats and the here are recycled material, and they're 3D printed. And the interesting thing there is that the fixing is from the outside. So normally all the fixing is from the inside. So if you have a little bash with somebody when you're parking your car, you have to change so much with a lot of modern cars. So I just wanted something that you could do in a very humble way, and there again you're saving using waste, not wasting things. This actually is a very practical thing. It's where you make the wheel flush, and that gives it extra battery life. So that's a very good looking thing, but it's also a very practical thing. The roof is plexiglass, so that's recycled. And I purposely wanted to see all the guts of the body. Because I think when they press the body of the car, I love the inside, and of course we mostly cover it up with panels and wood and leather, and that's fine. It's just not what I wanted. And as I was given by this man a free rein, I could do whatever I wanted, which is great. So it's his fault. Yeah. So here, the nice thing here is that we use cork inside. So this is, please open the door. Cork. The lovely thing about the cork is that, as we all know, cork comes from the tree. You don't kill the tree, you just take it off the tree. It grows back really quickly. And what the fantastic thing that we didn't know was that when we made the mold for this and we were chopping up the cork, I'm not sure if you all know the word sap, but the liquid inside glue was like glue, so it glued itself together. So we didn't use any glue, so that was amazing.
Wow.
That was amazing. So this is glued by. I glued myself, so he glued himself basically. And then here we've got recycled and recyclable mats, recycled and recyclable chair covers. The reason the cables are showing is that one of the big problems about recycling is when, especially in a roof, for instance, if you've got a roof and a liner and then things inside and they're all glued together, they're very hard to recycle because you have to take them apart. This probably gets recycled in a different way to this. So we just wanted it really simple. So if you recycle this car, you just cut the wire and you recycle it. It's very simple. The same with the inside of the door, so you could see all the guts of the door. And then
I love this.
and then a lot of my team at work are keen cyclists, or they're doing rock climbing at the weekends. They're all 22 years of age, and often there's this lovely rope hanging around the office, so I love it. So I thought that was a real nice contrast.
I hope this makes it into production somewhere.
That's beautiful.
It's so
really
nice
cool.
because it's so wrong.
Yeah, right.
It's comfortable too.
Yeah, and then you see the speaker, so you see the actual guts of the thing.
But you immediately want to touch it, pull it.
It's very beautifully done.
Yeah.
Aluminium, or aluminum for you in America. Then here, this is where you use your phone and you put it in here. So this is the spring. So everything, instead of having all the technology that's in here, we separate them. So in here you've got satellite navigation, weather, music, and all the things this does, but you don't need it here. So keep this nice and simple. Here you've got back projection for the speedometer, and then all these were made specially for this car. And then here you've got your airbags. But in here, either side, and exposed, you've got the side airbags. So these are just if you were to have a crash, it's just a simple tape, it splits, and then the airbag comes down here. So then the other little things are just, that's locked, so I can't get in there, don't worry. With Paul Smith, we're famous for our surprises. So here, for instance, if you come around here, you'll see that you've always got this contrast, and then here you've got the contrast. So just a little piece of colour, so it's lime green. Inside the trunk there's lime green also, and then a little drawing as well. Yes. So that's the strip, and then this one.
And that was Paul Smith, who, as you can tell, does not stand still. In fact, he was already on to his mini recharged electric classic after that, where he walked us through some details there as well. Again, apologize for the audio quality. It was off the cuff and it was a single take. But as I mentioned earlier, Paul Smith was absolutely adamant that we share that video with our viewers because he felt that was the best way to understand the car. So again, kudos to Paul. Really appreciate the time. And mini strip, it is really, really interesting. The more sort of time you spend with it and the more time, hands-on time you have, it really starts to become very, very clear. Conceptually, there's a lot of great ideas in there.